This is the AEW Dynamite February 19, 2025 full show results video which takes place at Phoenix's Arizona Financial Theater. Maxwell Jacob Friedman makes his entrance for his face-to-face with Hangman Adam Page, and Hangman makes his entrance immediately thereafter, and if either MJF or Hangman Page get physical, they're getting fined and suspended. Max swats at the crowd before getting on the mic and saying he doesn't speak poor. He says the year was 2019, the first ever event in the history of this company was Double or Nothing, and the opening match was a casino battle royal for an opportunity to become the inaugural champion. He struggles to remember who he beat to win the Dynamite Diamond ring the first time, but recounts all his accolades and his catchphrase. Hangman asks why he's talking to him like he doesn't know who he is when he knows exactly who he is and what he's done. 28 years old and already a history-making career, and he should be proud, but when he listed his accomplishments he sounded angry about it, and why? Is there something he still hasn't been able to win from them? MJF screams at him to shut his mouth before recovering his composure and saying he doesn't care about the fans and proving it by telling them to shut the hell up. Page gets everything on a silver platter because these schmucks decided he gets to be the main character? These morons chant cowboy shit at the top of their lungs, and everybody loves Adam Page. Page screams at him that Daniels is 10 times the man MJF is, and if he could give him his spine he'd do it in a heartbeat. 32 years in the business, and if there's a wrestling company in our lifetime, Daniels gave part of his life to it, and he went out fighting for his life, dying a warrior's death, and knowing Christopher Daniels, he never would have had it any other way. He says that selflessness, self-awareness, and humility is what Max doesn't understand. He's lied 100 times in the last few years, but never to them, and if he has a problem he faces it head-on. He doesn't run and he doesn't hide, and everything he's had he's worked for, the tag titles, the world title, a family that has stood by him through everything, and it was not easy. Max laughs it off and asks Adam if he's a child, whether Page admits it or not. The powers that be decided to prop him up as the chosen one, the golden boy, with all the buzz and propaganda in the world. Max says he looks better and dresses better and is better, and asks him to name one thing he does better. Page simply says that he's real and he throws the mic down. They stare at each other for a beat. MJF turns his head as cowboy shit chants go up. He turns back and tells Page he can be the main character all he wants because he's got no problem being the bad guy. They square up and look like they're gonna scuffle, but security arrives to keep them apart. Adam tries to provoke Max into doing something, but MJF puts his hands up and turns around and leans on the ropes, offering his back. Friedman turns back to face Hangman and spits in his face, spit hanging off his eyebrow. Page turns and jumps at Max, but MJF bails out of the ring and security holds Adam back. Hangman unloads on security and Christopher Daniels appears to pull him back. Page almost punches him but stops, and Christopher tells him this is what he was fighting for the whole time. Hangman knows who he is, Daniels knows who it is, and he asks if Adam understands, and he nods yes before leaving. Back from the commercial, Undisputed Kingdom are interviewed backstage, and Roderick Strong says he thinks he and Orange Cassidy are going to do this forever and he's going to win tonight. Kyle O'Reilly addresses the conflict of interest with the conglomeration, and Orange is his boy, but Roddy is his guy, or something to that extent. Then we saw a match between the Ops, Hook, Katsuyori Shibata, and Samoa Joe versus the Patriarchy, Christian Cage, Kip Sabian, and Nick Wayne. In the end, Hooks hits Northern Lights into the bridge on Wayne, then Joe in. Christian wants the kill switch, dumped to the floor, and Samoa dives on him. Hook is still legal. Nick gets a victory roll for 2. Roundhouse kick stuns Hook, but he has the wits to sink Red Rum in. Joe keeps watch, and the Ops won the match by submission with Red Rum from Hook on Nick Wayne. Back from the commercial, Renee Paquette interviews Chris Jericho, and he asks why she thinks she can talk to him like that and threatens to have her thrown out, and says no Jericho means no AEW, and instead of getting respect he gets vitriol. And why? Is he too nice? Does the learning tree need to teach a lesson? He's the noob, which means he's a 9-time world champion, and Bandito is the kind of guy that gets handed the camera for fans to take selfies with. Y2J. He gives Bandito a shot at the Ring of Honor World Championship on Collision, and himself a chance to prove that people are getting a little too comfortable around Chris Jericho. Then we saw a street fight between Big Bill Morrissey versus Powerhouse Will Hobbs. In the end, we see that Powerhouse Hobbs knocks Bill Morrissey off the steps and through a barbed wire table. Referee Aubrey Edwards counts as Big Bill struggles to free himself from the wire, and Powerhouse Will Hobbs won the match by referee stoppage via the standing 10 count. Toni Storm makes her entrance as newly minted 4-time AEW Women's World Champion in a lovely burgundy wiggle dress and pearls. She calls herself the whore you all adore, a slut you can't rebuff, and a tramp who is your new champ. She talks about facing the woman from hell in front of friends, family, and former lovers and calls Mariah May a sick bitch. But she's proud of her for giving her the fight of her life before she beat her with her small package. They say the best things come in small packages, but May should have worn protection because she railed her with the biggest package there's ever been. She says Mariah's been exiled and compromised to a permanent end and offers a cheap plug for Queen of the Ring, in theaters March 7th. And as for the title, if she's to be the best she must face the best, and asks for the women of wrestling from Chris Statlander to Willow Nightingale to Wendy Richter to seek her out because she's not hard to find and God is a woman and her name is timeless. Back from the commercial, Renee Paquette interviews Willow Nightingale and Willow calls Marina Shaffer out and she appears, beating her down and bludgeoning her with the briefcase before she and Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta make their way to the stage, Claudio Castagnoli not far behind. Moxley gets on the mic and says he's the champion of the world, which means this is his microphone, these are his cameras, his ring, his building, his seats. So nobody comes into his house and lays down some challenge to him like they're somebody. He doesn't care if you're the rated R superstar. Adam Copeland isn't here, he's probably still face down in the dirt in Australia after he about popped his head off his shoulders with his bare damn hands, and if he shows up at Revolution he will finish the damn job. Switchblade Jay White music hits and White stays on the stage and Pac appears from the tunnel to stalk after him. Switchblade walks down the ramp and Adam Copeland is here and he unloads on Jon Moxley with punches to the back of the head and the Pac eats Blade Runner. Spear for Yuta, then Blade Runner faked out into a spear on Claudio. Copeland gets Spike out from under the ring. He charges at Moxley but Jon rolls out of the way and bails out through the crowd. Adam gets on the mic and calls Moxley out and says this isn't his arena, these aren't his seats or his people, they're his. He says he knows Jon is halfway back to his hotel or whatever bridge he lives under, but he knows he'll see this and he's a coward, with no nuts, no guts, and no spine. He's got his little goon squad and Copeland is gonna take him out one by one. Renee Paquette interviews Mercedes backstage and she says she doesn't want any surprises or interrupts or damn puppets. Paquette says she only has congratulations, and Mercedes says nothing stops the Moan train and there's a price to pay when you mess with Moan. Renee tosses to an interview with Momo Watanabe where she challenges Mercedes for the AEW TBS Championship at Revolution. Mercedes gets upset because that's a surprise and says if Momo wants the match she has to show up to Dynamite and say it to her face. The next match happened between Chris Statlander versus Megan Bayne. In the end, Megan drawing Chris up, hammering elbows Statlander gets up top and Penelope Ford appears from under the ring to cut her off, and Megan hits F5 to defeat Chris Statlander by pinfall. Post-match, Ford jumps Chris Stat while Bayne watches and Thunder Rosa makes the save, steel chair in hand. She goes to swing and then thinks better of it, Penelope gets into a tug of war with her over the chair and it all kind of comes to nothing. Renee Paquette interviews Platinum Max Caster and he says he's 0-2 not because his strategy is wrong, but because he's got wrestlers like Hangperson Adam Page chasing him around the ring before the match begins, and that's not what it's about. He's issuing the challenge again for Collision and he guarantees whoever answers will stand their ground, look him in the eyes, shake his hand, and let him prove that you can't be better than the best. Ricochet makes his entrance, wearing Jimmy Rave's robe that he stole from Prince Nana. He says he's a winner and he proved it by pinning Shane Strickland, or really, from the moment he stepped foot in AEW, because he's been whooping all our favorites. Shane, Will, Darby, Commander, winners always have something to show for it, and he shows off the robe as a symbol of his success. He's not just another name on the roster, he's the main name on the roster, and he came here to win gold. His sights are set on championships in 2025, and he will be a champion, because he's too damn good looking not to be, and then comes Prince Nana. He says they've been beefing up and down the road and he doesn't know where that's going, but he does know he's wearing something that doesn't belong to him. 3 decades Prince Nana has been in this business, inside and out of the ring, closing deals, making champions, making history, and that robe represents pride, integrity, and those that he's walked through and those that we've lost, and anyone that's wearing it is supposed to have honor and been bestowed the opportunity to be great, and Nana never gave Ricochet that opportunity. Ricochet asks if he wants the robe back and tells him to take it. Nana trembles and Rick asks him if he's gonna cry and says that's okay, we all have emotions, but he's not getting the robe back and does that weird falsetto squeal. In the main event of the show, we saw a match between Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong, and the result of this match was Orange Cassidy defeated Roderick Strong by pinfall with the Orange Punch, becoming the #1 contender to the AEW International Championship. Post-match, Tony Schiavone interviews Orange Cassidy in the ring, But before he can answer, the Don Callis family interrupts. Callis has something very important to say, and he tells Orange that he's gonna go telling everyone he's the greatest international champion of all time. But to him he's nothing but a red-headed hippie and a loudmouth punch, and he sets Mark Davis and Konosuke Takeshita on Cassidy for the beatdown. Callis gets his own licks in, then Kenny Omega comes to save Orange. Walloping Takeshita, Davis pulls him away and Konosuke lights Kenny up with body blows. Takeshita blasts him with an elbow. Cassidy wakes up and low bridges Dunk Silla and hits Stundog Millionaire on Konosuke. V-trigger and an orange punch on Konosuke and Callis retreats. Omega holds the title belt up in Takeshita's face before turning to see Orange, full of determination. Don and his cronies leave and Orange and Kenny have a moment, then Omega hangs the belt over the ropes and the show goes off the air. How much you would rate this week's AEW Dynamite show? Let me know in the comments, subscribe the channel, like the video and thanks for watching.